Well, this week I'm going to be talking about one of my distant cousins, actually. His name is James Blatch Cox, and he comes from a town called Falmouth in Cornwall. Well, that's where he lived. He wasn't born there. And he's quite an interesting character, and he's got a very large family. So I thought it's quite fun to talk about the sort of things that he did, that his descendants did, where his descendants ended up, and that sort of thing, and the impact that he had on the local community, because he was a very busy man. So he did things. He was an ironmonger. He was manager of the local waterworks. So they built a waterworks to actually supply water to the town. He was also a Methodist or Baptist preacher and various other and mayor. He found time to be the mayor.
Well, it's interesting as you describe that because what I'm immediately thinking about is when we write our own stories about our own, immediate lives or whatever else we may join in on. It is funny to reflect back on how others will look at what we do, you know. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Sarah. It's lovely to see you joining in. Linda, Tammy, Marcy, it's just so fun to see you coming in from around the world as we get started with these in a more civilized hour here. And actually, as you go through sharing that, Emma, I'm struck a little bit. I guess perhaps it's the morning tea idea that I was thinking about James Morrison, Weatherby, George Dupree, which is one of my favorite poems. um, so as you go through these, how does that connect in with the rest of your journeys into genealogy? Tell us a little bit about your other projects.
Well, I've got various different things that I do. So some people will know me for my podcast, Journeys into Genealogy. So that's been going for over 3 years now, and there's over 100 episodes. And I've talked with so many different people on there. There's people who've got interesting stories, people and experts, people in countries all over the world. And it's sometimes people approach me. Sometimes I get PR agents approaching me and saying that they'd like their clients written a book or something like that. Or sometimes people approach me directly, or sometimes I reach out to them. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
as getting started and trying to get a little visibility to what you're doing, let's face it, the secret is to talk to people you don't know. Hello.
Definitely. Yeah. We actually had a conversation about this the other day about it. Sometimes things can become an echo chamber where you're always talking in the same group. So you need to find new people, and people grow through talking to other people. And I always learn. I learn from everybody I
Yeah.
speak to, whatever's actually going on.
Yeah. Well, you're such an inspiration. I find that every time I am talking to you, I get all inspired about new things I hadn't thought of. And I think it's like maybe it was in our conversation the idea of tide pools. I've always lived near
Mm.
the ocean, and one of the fun things about a tide pool is it's always bringing in fresh water. And in fact, of course, the animals evolve to need that. And I think as human beings, we kind of need that. And certainly our writing and creativity need that too. In many ways, as a listener to your podcast, I find it's always such a refreshing way to think about things I'd never thought of before. It's one of the things I'm so proud of with Emma Explores is that you are looking at the stories in your own family, but
Mm.
remixing them into themes and explorations as if you are an archaeologist, a scientist looking at your at your own history and where it goes. That is it's refreshing and encouraging and engaging as you get to know your speakers in Journeys into Genealogy. Unlike, I mean, Projectkin, we have a number of regular series, but you have a new speakers all the time. Each new interview is someone completely different. How do you do that? How do you even get started?
There's all sorts of different things. I've been doing it for a little while now. So when I first started, it was a bit reach out to somebody. Would they be interested in doing it? And it's like you sort of say, I want to help other people. So I was thinking, well, whatever publicity I can give somebody is generally a very good thing. And most people are quite happy to speak. Some people, it's been the first time they've ever spoken live about something. So it might be their family story or something like that. but other people are quite experienced speakers. So you never quite know what level somebody's at, or how confident somebody is. Sometimes you actually have a few technological difficulties where the sound quality might not be particularly brilliant, or you might get interruptions, but you deal with those as and when you need to. And I like to try and speak to my people beforehand to sort of give them a bit of an idea about what to expect. So we try and come up with the sort of subjects to be talked about, and sort of, it's not prescriptive, it's talking about sort of the things to actually cover, really, and then sort of see how the conversation flows. I always put it like that: the conversation flows, because you never quite know what you're going to talk about. You can have an idea and it might go off at a bit of a tangent, and sometimes I do have to reel people in a little bit, because people get very enthusiastic and they can carry on talking for a long time, and it's all, occasionally it's a bit, right, we've got to nearly an hour now and I do need to stop. So but no, it's fun.
Not naming names. Well, one of the things that I find is that as we look at what we're doing today, uh, as you know, I tend to get a little self-conscious about the technology that we're playing with. And, the democratization of media that we have lived through is quite extraordinary. Here we are essentially broadcasting as if we're on cable TV.
It's amazing that
And
we can do that from a phone.
it's amazing we can do that from a phone. The video itself is extraordinary, blah, 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 blah. And yet, what we're still figuring out how to do is the human to human connection. You and I have been working together for over a year, and yet we've never met in person. And there is so much different information that is conveyed, in the seconds that we see of a video screen, or if you're listening to this as a podcast, there are things that you notice when you're listening at in audio only that you don't notice when you're seeing something.
Yeah.
Or if you're reading a transcript, they keep using the same words over and over again. What's the matter with that? um, you know, in each form, you see different things, and I think that's what's so valuable about using a variety of different forms uh, to convey ideas, to get what is each program about, and what are you trying to accomplish? And I guess something I'm thinking a lot about lately, as you know.
What,
Yeah, go
with
ahead.
that point, I think it's really important to emphasize that people have different preferences. So some people do like listening to audio, some people like seeing what's
Yeah.
going on, other people like reading the words. So it's trying to accommodate all of those in a way that doesn't become onersome in terms of the time taken to actually do everything. So I do try and make it as friendly for me as possible in terms of the editing that I need to do afterwards, so I can cut bits off at either end. The transcripts, I have a system where I can actually edit the audio file using the words. So it's like I
Mhm.
put it into a tool called Descript. So if anybody's doing anything like this, that's one of the things I recommend. You put it up there and you can physically get rid of the words on the screen, and that takes them out the audio file, which is a pretty amazing tool. And then it will
Yeah.
give you a transcript that I can then go through, because it's AI generated. Some of the words in there, or if it's sort of specific to particular places and things like that, it won't recognize them. So I'll go through and
Yeah.
correct those, and I'll actually put links in, so that if people want to find out more about those particular subjects, they can do. And I think that's valuable in terms of
Mhm.
it, because sometimes when you're listening to something as well, you don't necessarily take it in, or you might
Mhm.
want to go back and remember something, and having something you can look at afterwards, I think that's a good tool.
I think that's very important. Certainly something I try to do, again, within capacity levels, for the frequency. I'm doing a lot of programs in a given month, but I feel very strongly about the transcripts being there, and almost I see video without transcripts, and why would anybody do that?
I, I,
Because it's
I
so
like
valuable.
words. I like
Yeah,
words. I like seeing people, but I'm not necessarily sure that I want to watch the whole thing. So
yeah,
I can read so much faster than I can obviously watch in real time. So I
yeah.
like to go through something, and reading that transcript might make me then think, right, I actually do want to go and listen to that and see what that person said. But I would probably go to the transcript first and think, well, I'll start at that particular point and go from then onwards.
Yeah, yeah, I do the same thing. I'm probably especially it depends on the media type as well. So if there's something that I want to learn how to do, then I do my little search, find it. It's in a YouTube video. Well, that's cool, but is it? Because there's a blah blah blah. Let me see it. And now being able to do the combination of the audio, the video, and then go see the transcript and then come back again is actually quite helpful. And by the way, it's a complicated story as to why, but I was looking into a way to create I guess it's a thing. I had never heard of it, but an audio guest book. So I happen to have a collection of two old-fashioned telephones, hook and ring kind of old-fashioned
Yeah.
telephones, and you may know built my early career in the telecom business. And so I'm faced with the challenge of putting together the circuitry so that I can take a phone off the hook. It'll play a message. It will say something like, tell the guest of honor a few messages that you'd like to leave for them. And then the person speaks and then they hang up and the whole thing is recorded just as we would expect from it. So it's combining what we expect in a telephone, of the experience of holding a handset, especially comfortable for elders, and with the convenience of electronic recording that is transparent, of very high quality, or at least a reasonably high quality. Microphones on telephones are actually pretty low end, so that you can't get better than CD quality. And sure enough, 2 clicks, and there's this guy who's done it, and he's got all the list of parts, and you don't even have to do any soldering, but
Mm.
it's just as close to that. So I'm not allowed to do that project yet till I finish another project. But I think that'll be kind of fun to do. And I was thinking through this morning, is that something that, uh, how generally would that kind of a tool be useful? Because on the face of it, it seems very neat, but really, um, I don't know. The craziness that is out there in what I'm trying to get across of storytelling coming in so many different forms. Once you have the scaffolding of the facts of history, who people are, then going in and pulling in the richness of the heart, the richness of the motivations, the things that people will tell you in the richness of voice and video and whatever else, it starts to convey something very different, I think, and I think more meaningful certainly than the facts alone, or getting back to the point about the richness of human expression beyond the printed word, the written word. Um, anyway, I go off into fantasy.
Well, talking about video there, I always like trying to do a Zoom call prior to actually interviewing somebody, just so that we can see what we each look like, and sort of it gives somebody an idea about what to expect. They get a bit of reassurance. I get a bit of reassurance, and you're familiar. It's not like you're going into something completely cold. Because for some of these people, it is the first time that they've done something like that, or they may not have done it very frequently, and people are sort of nervous about making mistakes. And it's like, no, you can't make a mistake. I can edit things out, and everything's fine. And just letting people know what to expect. Yes.
Yeah. It's like everybody, I think, in a new media needs a minute to get their bearings. It's like
Mm.
standing up on a ship. And you need a minute to get your bearings, and then you can center on the human factors. And the human factors of, look me in the eye and talk to me. Don't think
Mm.
about the fact that you're talking to a wall. I so vividly remember my first experience on video, which I thought, what we used to call talking phones, right? Or video phones. Yeah, video phones. And how crazy this was. And I was escorted, and, you were going to do a video call with so and so. It happened, the company that the name escapes me for the moment, but one of the earliest pioneers in video calling, what we later called video conferencing or video phones, within our building. And so I was invited upstairs and into the little secret room to go and talk to the wall. It's like, I'm talking to a wall, people.
But we think nothing of it nowadays.
There's nothing, people walking along with their phones or in the grocery store. Which one is it? Which kind of ice cream do you want?
That's that I have to say, walking down the street and seeing people having a conversation, you still get that. Are they talking to me? What are they
Yeah,
doing? Are they
yeah,
talking to themselves? Oh, they're on the phone. Okay. And
yeah.
even though people have been doing it for a long time, several
Oh, yeah,
years, you
right.
still get the little bit of a, okay, yes.
Oh, I mean, the earbuds walking down the street and people talking to themselves. I remember being on BART in 2008, maybe to 2000. I got an iPhone in, like the day it came out in 2007. I'd been in the Macintosh space for a long time. And so there I was on the train, on the subway, tapping on the face, on the glass of my phone. And people were looking at me. What are you doing? Why don't you just get one with a keyboard? What is your problem?
Yeah. Yeah, I can remember having a phone and it's like it had a keyboard and a keyboard was essential. It's like, why would you go to one that hasn't got a keyboard? I need a keyboard. I have to have a keyboard. And it's like, no, you don't have to have. But it's how familiar you are, or if you can accept doing something different. I can remember when the iPad came out thinking this is stupid. One of those. I'll never use one of those. And
Oh,
nowadays
crazy.
it's an essential tool.
Oh, yeah. I mean, do we need to watch movies in bed?
No. Reading
TV
though,
shows.
read
TV
taking
shows.
it traveling, reading books, having a library of books on there, brilliant.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Who needs you know what? We're starting to sound old.
We are old, Barbara. I hate to say it.
No, no. And of course the secret revenge of being old and letting the kids make fun of you is the fact that and I know that they're going to get old too. Any kind of luck, they too will get the reading glasses and figure it out.
And it's you look back and you think of previous generations and how the world has changed in the last 100 years. The pace of change is immense. You look back at my grandparents' generation, they would be absolutely shocked to see what things are like nowadays. I mean, they did have a telephone and they did have a television. My grandfather bought a Betamax. Do you remember Betamax? Rather
Oh,
than VHS,
hey, don't even get well. We'll come back
which
to
was
the
better quality, but
we'll come
it
back to
wasn't
the
the most popular.
Betamax, or as we called it, Betamax. Um, the whole notion of the pace of technology is really since what, about 1820, the cotton gin or something like that. The pace of technology gives us this feeling, right? It's that how the generations at that time reacted to these extraordinary changes in technology. There's a great example of something that we're not catching when we're just telling stories about ages and when people were born and the loss of children, or those fundamentals of family history. When we start to put the family in the time and see how the introduction of a car. I mean, again, I've been in technology my whole career here, but having people say, "Oh, I don't do that." It's a definition of me to not participate in this new technology thing. Ah, I feel like saying, "Come on, man, grow up." Because I think the plasticity, the way it forces you, the definition of you to change and take the best parts of the old and the new. It's like the recorder built out of an old-fashioned telephone. You're dealing with the glorious ergonomic joy of a big old clunky thing that could be a murder weapon and holding it in your hand as if you're talking to the person. It's a different kind of experience. And thinking about how these different things can go back and forth and blend, I think is a really fun part of where we are and what we're doing and doing it right now. Right now. It's not just get it done, because if you don't do it now, it's never going to get done, which is true. But thinking about the opportunity of doing this today, in our point in history, and capturing that joy our point in history, I just think is anyone who's not doing that is a missed opportunity. I had a real fun conversation with my sister, you may be out there watching, last night and, conveying a little bit about what we're doing now and why. And, sometimes you realize that, no, you still haven't been getting the idea across, and there's a lot of work to do, and I think, you know, that may be a good place to bring this to a close because the whole idea of these little brief sessions is to give a little preview of what's ahead, have a real human conversation about where it's going, and share that joy with all of you. Thank you so much for joining. It's always fun to see and fun to see the comments in the recordings and the rest of it. I now get these out right away is a quick lesson that I learned. And if I can figure out the timing right, I think I could take that recording and pop it into the post that I sent out earlier because it's got much more of the links and cross references, and we'll just do it that way rather than repeating all of the links, which is my effort at best practices and continuing to innovate. And sometimes I'm going to do a little faceplant. So sometimes I try not to do it too spectacularly. I'll try not to outdo myself on the faceplant. Again, thank you so much. I am looking forward to Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. in British Standard Time, 7 p.m. on the continent. And only for those of you who are really ready to be up at 3 a.m. and you know who you are in Australia. Otherwise, get some sleep. Again, thank you so much for joining.
My pleasure. Looking forward to seeing you on Thursday. Thanks, Barbara.
Bye. Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you.